The following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring JennaTaubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Hello, everyone. It's time for Good Money Moves here at News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and at 96.9 FM. I'm Andy Brownell, with JennaTaubel, Director of Brand and Digital Member Experience with First Alliance Credit Union. Hello, Jenna.
Hey, Andy.
So last week we talked about shrinkflation and how we can avoid the worst of its effects. What good money moves are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so we've talked a lot on this show about how to manage money on a tight budget. But one area we haven't really covered before is how to make good money moves if you make a six-figure income. Now, to be fair, the reason for that is that most people don't really earn that big of a salary. The average salary in Rochester is just over $54,000 a year. But there are a lot of people in this community that do earn that. And a lot of people also dream of one day earning that. And so a lot of times you might think that once you've kind of met that earning threshold, that your financial worries are just going to be gone. In a lot of ways, you're right. However, earning a lot of money doesn't magically make your money troubles just disappear. In fact, according to a study done by Lending Club, 45% of people who earn over $100,000 a year are still feeling like they're living paycheck to paycheck. And this is because oftentimes people just don't know how to effectively manage that much money. And if you want to be able to truly leverage a six-figure salary so that you can live your best life, then I suggest keep on listening to today's show, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Well, I imagine locally that this will apply to a lot of people. This is a highly educated workforce.
It is.
There's a significant number of people who have high earning jobs. I'm amazed how many young people who work for a certain large employer are making six figures and as you mentioned, living paycheck to paycheck. I've talked to a few of them, and I'm always, how could that be?
Yeah.
But you know what? They spend a lot.
Yes.
They don't, as you point out, they're not making necessarily the good money moves. So this could be interesting, kind of a lifestyle of the rich and famous.
Yes.
So I guess if you are among those in our audience today, good for you, first of all. I'm glad you achieved this, and your education and whatever skills you have paid off for you handsomely. Maybe, Jenna, what is a first step that somebody with the means to pull this off can make good money moves and get things under control?
Yeah. Well, Andy, really the first thing that you need to do when you start making over $100,000 a year is make a spending plan. You'll need to really figure out how you're currently spending your money each month, essentially. So, and many people feel like when you start earning kind of that six-figure salary, that you can afford almost anything, right? All of a sudden you have all this money that you've probably never really had before. And oftentimes what's known as lifestyle creep starts to really eat away at any financial breathing room that you have left. And many times people, they'll go out and buy that luxury car, or they'll start looking for that really nice house, or, something along those lines. However, most people don't realize that salary can do a lot more for you than just buy you a nice house. And so on the flip side of that, they also don't completely understand the limitations of that salary either, which is why it's really, really important that you have a spending plan in place, even when you are making larger salaries, because you still need to be able to, utilize that salary to its potential and really focus those funds appropriately.
Yeah, I imagine the temptation to eat out every night would be quite large.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, and obviously, if you're making this kind of money, you're probably pretty busy too.
Oh, yeah.
Usually,
Absolutely.
usually hard work goes along with the high salary,
Exactly.
and the tax man is going to get a bigger cut of it too.
Yes.
Move you up into those other tax brackets, especially if you're a single person making this kind of money. I
Hmm.
imagine how much your paycheck shrinks before you receive all of it could be a little bit of a shock.
Yes. That all very true. Very true.
So we talked about creating spending plans, aka budgets, before. Is the process different if I'm pulling in this kind of revenue?
Yeah. So fundamentally, no. Though a larger portion of that spending plan or that budget should be used for savings. But the process of getting started is really the same regardless of what your income level is, right? So first you need to figure out what is your monthly net income, what is that take home pay that you have that gets deposited into your banking account every week or month or however the frequency of your paychecks are. Right. And the next thing is to then list out your current expenses and really total them up. And then finally, just subtract this amount from your monthly salary. And if your expenses are less than or equal to your income, you have a balanced budget, or even better, hopefully you have a surplus, meaning you aren't spending every dime that you bring in. If your expenses are more than your income, though, this is where you need to take a step back and start looking at cutting costs or changing some spending habits and get that back to a point where your income is at least balanced and kind of equal to each other so you're not overextending yourself. And going through this process is really going to show you where you stand financially right now. And if nothing else, it will give you really the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you are kind of covering all of your necessary expenses appropriately. And really, once you know where you stand, you'll be able to plan what to do with your spending your money for the future as well. So, and again, this is really just good, solid advice no matter what your income level is. So, when you know that you can cover your necessary expenses and know how much you're dedicating towards things like entertainment or even meeting financial goals that you have, what you're really doing is stopping yourself from overspending, and in short, you're putting yourself back in control of your own finances versus your kind of whims controlling your finances. And this is the start of the process for how you avoid becoming lifestyle poor and feeling like you're living paycheck to paycheck despite that six-figure salary.
I have known more than a few people who have earned advanced degrees and obtained positions that those degrees deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And when they started pulling in the big bucks, as you would call it, they didn't have a spending plan, and it was
No.
they weren't conscious about what they were doing. And yeah, and there was also an expectation that they would live large as well.
Yeah.
Take those kind of vacations and do and as you said, got themselves into deep trouble. I mean, deep trouble debt wise, really relatively quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we definitely, even here at the credit union, have seen people come in who have good salaries and but they're just in this mess of a situation financially because they didn't take time to go through this process that we just talked about and that we're going to continue to talk about today because nobody told them how to do it. And I mean, it's so easy to fall down that rabbit hole of, oh, well, I can spend $100 here, no big deal. I can spend I can go buy this new thing, no big deal. I can put, it does start to slowly eat away at that kind of financial cushion that larger salary can afford you otherwise.
It reminds you of the stories of the pro athletes who come right out of college and they're 23 years old and they're handed the keys to the kingdom, as they say.
Yeah.
And they're broke.
Yep.
And everybody goes, how could they possibly be broke? How is this possible? Well, I think it's easier than you think. Well, the story of the lottery winners as well, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we're talking about people who have pretty good salaries here and need um, need guidance on how to actually do well with that money, live well with it, and plan for the future.
Yes.
It's on Good Money Moves, and we'll return in a moment with JennaTaubel with First Alliance Credit Union on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and JennaTaubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and JennaTaubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back to Good Money Moves. We're talking about financial advice, planning. I don't know, what do you want to call it, Jenna? Making good money moves when you're making good money.
Yeah.
There we go.
Exactly.
So what's the next step? We talked about a spending plan, being purposeful with your money. What's the next step if you're making that six-figure salary or even higher?
Yeah. So really the next thing you want to do once you've taken kind of stock of what your financial situation really is to start creating a solid financial foundation for yourself. And this is especially important if you've only just started to kind of make this higher salary and you've kind of gone through and created your budget. You should kind of realize that you have all this extra money left over. And again, you're going to be tempted to use that for something fun. But really what you should be doing is using that to save up for the future, right? For the present, figure out how you can use that extra money in your spending plan to really bolster your finances. So, for example, if you have debt from a variety of different sources, whether you racked up some credit card debt over college or you've got student loans, use that extra money in your budget to start aggressively paying down those debts while simultaneously building up your emergency fund and also ensuring that you're contributing fully to your retirement fund or a 401k or whatever your employer is offering you. This is going to set you up for long-term success, right? And because you hopefully have a little wiggle room in that budget with this bigger salary, you don't have to just focus on one of these goals at a time. You should be able to prioritize and work towards multiple financial priorities simultaneously. Now, admittedly, this is not as fun as going on a big vacation or buying a new luxury car for yourself or
a Lambo.
Those things will come in time. The first and most important thing that you can do for yourself is, and this is going to benefit you for the rest of your life, and you will be able to retire comfortably. And in a few years, you will not have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck. You're not going to have to worry about what to do if you're hit with an emergency, right? Just because you make six figures does not mean you're safe from a job loss or medical emergencies. You still need to be smart and plan for these events to happen because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something will happen. And you want to be prepared for whatever that's going to be. And because you are making this larger salary, if you're prioritizing your finances appropriately, you should be able to shore up these types of goals relatively quickly.
And
then freeing up more money to go on vacations once you have that financial stability set in place for yourself.
And the beauty of this, too, that I really like about this plan is if you do this early,
yes,
you will not grow quickly accustomed to living the high life.
Exactly.
You'll have to be more purposeful and have that spending plan and do all these things, and it'll become a habit to you before you actually have the means to do those other things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so, I don't know how to explain that. You'll be a lot more disciplined. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yes, that's a great way to say it.
So what's the next step if we're lucky enough to have this big income?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's say you've kind of done all the right things and you've set yourself in motion. Right now you're debt free, you've built up your savings. Now you can kind of start thinking about the future and, think about the goals you'd like to achieve. Now this is the time where you can start really dreaming big and thinking about all the more fun and exciting things that this salary can afford you, right? So whether maybe you want to buy a big house or a fancy car, or you want to be able to travel internationally on a regular basis, or maybe you just want to have the biggest wedding possible, or you want to buy tickets to the Super Bowl every year, whatever that thing is for you, now's the time to start planning for it once you've shored up that kind of solid financial foundation for yourself. And one great suggestion I have is to sit down when you have some free time, pour yourself your favorite drink, whether that's coffee in the morning or a glass of wine at the end of the night, whatever that is for you. Just start daydreaming and writing down all the things that you want to do. And can be a really fun exercise actually to do with your spouse or your partner, and kind of just have some fun with it. Don't limit yourself, really. I mean, again, you're daydreaming. You're trying to just kind of start to prioritize this list of goals that you have for yourself. And then you can kind of start to figure out which ones are the most important to you. And really, one of the nice things about earning that six-figure salary is that it's easier to focus on multiple goals at a time because you will have the financial resource to do so. The important part about this, though, is to take that a step further and take it from just dreaming about those goals to actually making those attainable goals and using that SMART goals framework that we talked about before on the show. So that means setting specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound goals for yourself. So for example, if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to pay off your student debts really quickly so that you could free up a lot of that income for yourself to go take vacations or travel or do those fun things, right? Your SMART goal would sound like this. I plan to pay off my $50,000 student loan debt early by making $1,000 payments every month for 4 years. I don't know if the math completely adds up on that, but you get the idea, right? It provides a really clear, actionable plan that you can take to meet the goal. And then you're able to check that plan against the spending plan that you created ahead of time to assure that it's a realistic goal for you.
Yeah, perfect. But I think you'd be able to even accelerate those goals if you were doing what we had talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you
absolutely
had some discipline in your spending plans, buying a nice boat to take down to the Mississippi and paying cash for it really wouldn't take that long for you to save up for.
Very true.
If you had the luxury of knowing that you're secure and having a great emergency fund, and socking away money for the long-term savings, I think that'd be attainable fairly quickly, and you could be guilt-free about it. That'd be the best thing. And when I say guilt-free, is debt-free, because you won't have that hanging over. You could really enjoy the toy.
Exactly.
All right. I better go out and get a different job so I can get in on this. Got me all excited. We're talking about managing your money, making good money moves. When you make good money on Good Money Moves. We'll be back in a moment. News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and JennaTaubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and JennaTaubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We are back with more of Good Money Moves for people making good money. JennaTaubel with First Alliance Credit Union with us. And Jenna, when we've talked about the SMART goals, I always feel like I can accomplish just about anything with that framework, using it. If it's savings, if it's paying off debt, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So is there another step that we could look at when we're talking about making $100K or more?
Yeah, so I would just say, once you've created that spending plan, you've set and prioritized your financial goals, and you've kind of got yourself set up on a good, solid financial foundation, this is the part where you get to start really rewarding yourself. So hopefully within a relatively short time frame, you're able to set up that strong financial foundation for yourself, right? Becoming debt free, having that emergency fund we talked about. You have a spending plan in place that takes care of the present while also preparing you for the future, saving for retirement, things like that. So you've done all this. Now it's time to do something nice for yourself. No doubt you work hard, you make good money. It's okay to have fun with it too. And this is the part of the show where we get to talk about that a little bit more. So, and It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as whatever that nice thing is doesn't disrupt your other goals or create irregularities in your spending plan and your budgeting. Right. So again, you still have to be mindful. The money management piece of this never truly goes away. You still have to be mindful of all of that. But this is where you can, again, start taking those nice vacations, maybe buying that nicer car that you've been eyeballing, or, maybe starting up a hobby you've always wanted to do, but was maybe just out of reach for expenses purposes, that kind of stuff. But that leads me into another thought that I want to cover quickly, and that is that throughout this whole process, this isn't something that you necessarily are just doing in a single day. This is an ongoing process, and you should really be adjusting your spending plan regularly as you're going through these steps. So you can add new spending categories for things like paying down debt, saving for a financial goal, padding out that emergency fund or retirement savings. And you can also increase your budget for things like clothes, entertainment, utilities, as your budget is kind of adjusting, and you've maybe paid down a bunch of debt and now you've got a couple $100 extra in your budget every month that you want to use for something fun, right? So just remember to really regularly review your spending plan and adjust it based on, changes to your current expenses, changes to your income, right? If you have an annual review, are you going to get an increase at that every year? Take that into account into your spending plan. How can you make the most out of that increase? And of course, whether or not you've achieved one of your financial goals or you're ready to set a new one and start working towards that. So at the end of the day, really, no matter if you make $50,000 a year or $150,000 a year, you still have to know the limits of your money and then use your money in ways that will get you ahead in life.
Yeah, and remember as well that when you hit retirement age, you are going to be once again accustomed to a higher standard of living, and you're probably going to have to save a lot more than I would.
Exactly. Yeah.
In order to be comfortable.
That. Exactly.
Yeah. What do you mean I can't go to Paris?
Yes. It's a very important part of all of this is ensuring you're planning for retirement throughout.
This truly does qualify as a first world problem.
Yes.
But I know I'm being glib about it, but I know personally people have gotten themselves in trouble even though they've made really, really good money.
Yeah. Well, it's so easy to do, especially if nobody has ever told you how to do it or the importance of it. And, everybody starts from somewhere. And as we talked about previously on this show, a large portion of the United States doesn't have the level of financial literacy that they would like to have or should have to manage their funds appropriately. And that's what this show is all about. Regardless of your income, you can learn something from this show. I guarantee it.
And if it works for you, you can take us out to lunch. I'm joking. But as always, Jenna, fantastic info. And as you pointed out, the basics of this apply universally. So if somebody was listening to this and wanted to learn more about spending plans, SMART goals, all of it, tell us where they can find it.
Absolutely. I always encourage our listeners to visit our website, firstalliancecu.com. You can subscribe to our blog. We release new financial tips and advice every week. You can go back and listen to past episodes of this show at firstalliancecu.com/podcast or on krocnews.com. You can also subscribe to Good Money Moves on Google, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And if you love our show, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you have a financial topic or a question that you would like covered on Good Money Moves, please send me an email at marketing@firstalliancecu.com. And of course, I strongly encourage you to reach out to our team at First Alliance Credit Union so that they can help you start making good money moves today.
That is First Alliance Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. JennaTaubel, thank you so much again.
Absolutely.
And we'll do another episode next week of Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.